Welcome everyone to today's workbook discussion on Zoom. Welcome also to all who join us at a later time by watching the recording. You are part of this family too. My name is Johanna and I am a volunteer with the Foundation for Inner Peace. The Foundation is the publisher of the scribe authorized version of A Course in Miracles. If you want to learn more about ACIM, please visit www.acim.org. If you feel inspired to make a love offering, please visit acim.org, and at the top of the page you will find the word donate. All donations support the work of the Foundation for Inner Peace. Each session, we will be delving into a discussion of the workbook lessons in A Course in Miracles, led by a moderator team of volunteers for the Foundation. What does discussion mean? In our gatherings here, we welcome the Holy Spirit to join us. Through the Holy Spirit's presence, our meeting becomes a joining of equals to commune with the Holy Spirit's guidance to experience miracles together. Now, before we begin today's session, we will take a moment together to quiet and center our minds. Please, Sharon, take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you. So if you're comfortable, just sit back and take a deep breath and lay the palms of your hands open on your legs. And settle into that presence of God that is always with us. And I would like to read from the book Choose Once Again, Selections from A Course in Miracles. Let us be still an instant and forget all things we ever learned, all thoughts we had, and every preconception that we hold of what things mean and what their purpose is. Let us remember not our own ideas of what the world is for. We do not know. Let every image held of everyone be loosened from our minds and swept away. Be innocent of judgment, unaware of any thoughts of evil or of good that ever crossed your mind of anyone. Now do you know him not, but you are free to learn of him and learn of him anew. Now he is born again to you, and you are born again to him without the past that sentenced him to die, and you with him. Now is he free to live as you are free, because an ancient learning passed away and left a place for truth to be reborn. Thank you for sharing that time of peace and quiet with me. And today, we're going to be picking up from where we left off last time, and we're studying lesson 68. And what I would like to do is have two people alternate reading the paragraphs until we're finished, and then we're going to go back to paragraph 3 and go deep into that paragraph. Okay, so do I have some volunteers to read? And I can't see hands on my screen. Okay, Andrew, I see yours. And if there's someone else that has volunteered also, please just speak right up.
Doriel says I'll come through.
Great, thank you. So Ardith, actually, Ardith, would you go first? And then Andrew, would you take up with the second chapter? paragraph?
Sure.
Sure. Okay. Lesson 68. Love holds no grievances. You who were created by love like itself can hold no grievances and know yourself. To hold a grievance is to forget who you are. To hold a grievance is to see yourself as a body. To hold a grievance is to let the ego rule your mind and to condemn the body to death. Perhaps you do not yet fully realize just what holding grievances does to your mind. It seems to split you off from your source and make you unlike him. It makes you believe that he is like what you think you have become, for no one can conceive of his creator as unlike himself.
Shut off from yourself, which remains aware of its likeness to its creator, yourself seems to sleep, while the part of your mind that weaves illusions in its sleep appears to be awake. Can all this arise from holding grievances? Oh, yes. For he who holds grievances denies he was created by love, and his creator has become fearful to him in his dream of hate. Who can dream of hatred and not fear God?
It is assured that those who hold grievances will redefine God in their own image, as it is certain that God created them like himself and defined them as part of him. It is assured that those who hold grievances will suffer guilt, as it is certain that those who forgive will find peace. It is assured that those who hold grievances will forget who they are, as it is certain that those who forgive will remember.
Would you not be willing to relinquish your grievances if you believed all this were so? Perhaps you do not think you can let your grievances go. That, however, is simply a matter of motivation. Today we will try to find out how you would feel without them. If you succeed, even by ever so little, there will never be a problem in motivation ever again.
Begin today's extended practice period by searching your mind for those against whom you hold what you regard as major grievances. Some of these will be quite easy to find, and then think of the seemingly minor grievances you hold against those you like and even think you love. It will quickly become apparent that there is no one against whom you do not cherish grievances of some sort. This has left you alone in all the universe in your perception of yourself.
Determined now to see all these people as friends. Say to them all, thinking of each one in turn as you do so, I would see you as my friend, that I may remember you are part of me and come to know myself. Spend the remainder of the practice period trying to think of yourself as completely at peace with everyone and everything, safe in a world that protects you and loves you and that you love in return. Try to feel safety surrounding you, hovering over you and holding you up. Try to believe, however briefly, that nothing can harm you in any way. At the end of the practice period, tell yourself, love holds no grievances. When I let all my grievances go, I will know I am perfectly safe.
The short practice periods should include a quick application of today's idea in this form. Whenever any thought of grievance arises against anyone, physically present or not, love holds no grievances. Let me not betray myself. In addition, repeat the idea several times an hour in this form. Love holds no grievances. I would wake to myself by laying all my grievances aside and awakening in him.
Wow, that is so beautiful. Does anyone have anything that they want to say about that in its entirety? And Ardith, your hand is still up. Did you want to say
Oh,
more?
sorry.
That's
No,
okay.
no, I'm sorry. I'll take it down.
And I can't see this screen, but I can't see everyone. There you go. Okay, so if no one has any thoughts on it in general, excuse me, I'm going to read paragraph 3, and then we'll see if we have any discussion about that. It is as sure that those who hold grievances will redefine God in their own image as it is certain that God created them like himself and defined them as part of him. It is as sure that those who hold grievances will suffer guilt as it is certain that those who forgive will find peace. It is as sure that those who hold grievances will forget who they are as it is certain that those who forgive will remember. What does that bring up for anybody? I love the part about peace. Maggie.
I thought I hit unmute, but I just lowered my hand. So sorry about that. I actually raised my hand. I do have something to say about that paragraph, but also I noticed Bill raised his hand right before you decided to take us into paragraph 3. I don't think it was noticed. I don't know if Bill, you wanted to say something still.
Oh yeah, yeah. Thanks so much, Maggie. General, overall on the 68, I noticed last time that this is going to be a very awesome lesson and looking so forward to it. I think this would be a key, like we said, it's a milestone lesson. And I thought I was having milestone lessons leading up to this when I first started with you guys, like on lesson 63 or something when I wasn't too long ago. But yeah, I'm looking forward to really understand it. And what I noticed here, that this is exactly where it's congruent with the 12-step program. In the 12-step program, you want to go back to everyone that you had an issue with and forgive them. And you do this exercise. And you're supposed to go back and you're supposed to forgive them and become willing to make amends to them. You'd be so blessed to meet up with them that they would be in a position to hear your amends. And then that's the 12-step that Bill gave us that way. And that's why I love that way so much. It's like the 12-steppers and the Christians have the first closest step to the ACIM as far as I'm concerned. But anyways, I just love how that worked and how this works. And it's like we just got to go over every single person that we may have had a tiny little grievance with, because I started doing this as it told me to do that. And then I was realizing, oh, I do have little tiny bits of grievances to individuals, to expressions, to human beings in my past. And I found that odd because I thought I was past that. So yes, like in the AA says, this is a good exercise. I'm with it. I'm going to do it. And I'm happy to be here doing it with you all.
Well, we're happy to have you here with us doing it all, Bill, also.
Yes.
And I know just what you mean. Andrew.
I think Maggie wanted to say something. Go ahead, Maggie. You were ahead of me.
Oh,
That just made me feel like maybe we'll play a game all session where the person calls on someone else. Yeah, really briefly, I was gonna respond to just my thoughts on paragraph 3, and I guess I kind of am still remembering conversation that we had recently, if it was not last week, very recently. And it says in this paragraph that we're looking at right now that, you know, it is as sure that those who hold grievances will suffer guilt. And it is as sure that those who hold grievances will forget who they are. Just this sense that if I'm feeling any sense of guilt, or if I'm feeling any sense of not being at peace, then I must be holding a grievance, even if it's not something that I feel consciously aware of. And I think I was thinking about it just because I remember recently a number of you were really, you know, honest in sharing that it feels sometimes that there aren't any grievances you're holding and kind of not really knowing what to do about that. I know for me, I don't know what it says about me, but I have a great awareness of a great number of grievances I'm holding all of the time. But if I ever have any doubt that any are there, this paragraph reminds me that if I'm not at peace, there's something being held in there somewhere. But I remember Johanna pointing out that I think sometimes the types of grievances that are still very much fodder for the practice that slip our attention are ones that don't have us in like an outright rage. I think she used the example of seeing just a flower slightly out of place in an arrangement on the table. And that's what I think of as well. I'm not thinking that I must always be holding something in which I'm having an outright rage, but I might be simply feeling a little bit uncomfortable with something that's going on. I might feel just a little bit like I want to be somewhere else right now. Just anything that is even a slight disturbance of peace lets me know there is something being held in there that I can offer up to the practice. And that's all I wanted to share. So thank you, Andrew.
Oh, that's great, Maggie. Thank you. Andrew.
I totally agree with you, Maggie. But it's some, they're hidden and they not aware of them. I had a different comment on that paragraph. Those who hold grievances will redefine God in their own image, as it is certain that God created them like himself and defined them as part of him. That just reminds me of many religious people define God in human terms, and like God is vengeful and all, and just an interpretation that you can get from the Bible. And that's the only comment I really had.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Andrew. Peter.
Yeah, thanks for the discussion, everybody. This is great. It reminds me of the idea that the Course aims at a complete reversal of thought. And it seems so natural to me in my everyday life to hold grievances. And sometimes that takes the form of a judgment, a condemnation, annoyance, anger. Should I stop? So it seems like that's the natural way to navigate my day, because I have been taught and I have learned that that's the way I take care of myself in this world, because those grievances seem to protect me. My anger seems to protect me and keep me safe. And the ego tells me that I am in peril at every moment and I need to do whatever I need to do to survive. And so, of course, it seems to make sense that I should be on the lookout for any annoyances, any full-blown attacks against me, and so on. And yet this lesson is telling me that every time I do that, I forget who I am, I create God in my own image, and I condemn myself to death. And so this opens up a whole new way of looking at my day and looking at the world, and understanding the truth that lies beyond the ego's lies. Thank you.
Yes, that's exactly right. And what I wanted to say is that I think it's hilarious how the ego, does, for me anyway. I remember being in a class where we at the Church of Religious Science, and we were supposed to think of something. It was a forgiveness part, and we were supposed to think of something that we held a grudge against. And I really couldn't think of anyone. And I suspected that my ego was going, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. And so on the way home, I remember asking, show me who I have not forgiven. I really want to know. And when I walked into my house, my husband was sitting there with a man that I just hated. And I burst out laughing. It was so right in my face. And he knew that I didn't like him. And when I burst out laughing, he kind of laughed, and it all dissolved. Every single bit of it dissolved. And he was like a fresh new person. And that really was amazing to me. That was amazing. That's all I have to say. Maria.
Sorry, I was taking notes so I wouldn't forget what I wanted to say. But it is something that Peter said that I have been quite aware this year. That is that sense of constant threat by anything. The sun, the flies, the people, what they say, the money or the disease, whatever. I became so conscious this year of this constant sense of threat that I suppose we all experience. But I also notice here, I don't know if it is in the paragraph 3, those who forgive will find peace. And something about not losing motivation. I remember years ago, there was a moment in one day when I felt completely at peace. It didn't last long, but I felt so at peace that I began thinking of everyone I knew with so much love. And then it disappears. I'm quite a resentful person, I must say. So I might not react immediately to something, but when I come home, my ego starts to make me angry at whatever was said or done. So I have a very good memory, and that is a sword with what's the name? No, I forgot. But it's understandable what I said.
Yes, yes. And you're not the only one that has those feelings either, Maria. I think it's universal. But did you want to add more?
No.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you. Thank you for speaking. Dylan.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Yeah, studying psychology and a little psychotherapy, they call grieving the healing feeling. And I was kind of digging into it for a while, grieving, past stuff from my childhood and definitely having a big slab of beef here locally. It's kind of some esoteric backstory to that. But what I've been watching or listening to a lot of Ken Wapnick here recently. And what he's talking about is undoing that, to undo the separation, the initial grievance, quote unquote, that we had with God, that everyone shares, is to recognize the sameness in everyone. And I found that to bring me a lot of peace. When somebody, I've been getting a little bit of harassment from some activities, some alienation that's been going on here locally. And, when I realized that those people are just trying to feel vital, they're just trying to feel alive, they're trying to feel passionate, and they're doing it in the context of the instinctual, animalistic, win-lose competition kind of realm. But also there's a right mind in them, just like there is in everyone else. So just to say, perceiving the sameness in everyone really kind of alleviates grievances and animosity that I've felt. So
yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. And it reminds me of that the lesson. I don't know which one it is, where we're directed to everyone we see. We silently say, "Give me your blessing, you holy Son of God," and that was an eye opener for me also. So thank you for that, Dylan. Okay, Jerry.
I was just thinking about all minds are joined. And when I feel agitated, vis-a-vis a grievance, I'm assigning the cause outside of myself. Just the other day, I found out that there was a party that I hadn't been invited to. And I had a chance to see the host of the party that very day. And I went up to him. I was so upset. I felt rejected and I felt such a grievance towards him. And I just confronted him about how come I wasn't invited. And he said, "You were invited. Aren't you on the WhatsApp list? I sent it to everybody." Well, I'm not on the WhatsApp list. I had requested to take my name off the WhatsApp list. And so I felt like, egg on my face, but it relieved the idea of this false perception. There's no cause outside of myself. It's always something in my mind, and it's always my wrong egoic mind. And so I just profoundly made amends and apologized to him. And it was something that I had to do because I was mistaken, not sinful, not guilty. I was just, mistaken. And Jesus tells me, Jerry, choose again and choose with me. So I made the amends. I got the explanation as to how it all was a mistake. And I felt peace again. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you for sharing, Jerry. Ardith.
You calling me? I'm sorry.
I did.
Oh, yeah. I was unmuting myself at the same time. I like the it is assured that those who hold grievances will suffer guilt. Maybe I'm reading something into that, but as it is certain that those who forgive will find peace. I see holding and forgiving as two opposites. So it's not that we don't have grievances. It's kind of like where it says anger is never justified, but we all know we get angry. It's not that. It's we hold on to them. I think it's so important. This paragraph tells us to let them go as soon as we recognize them. And the other ones that are in our subconscious, so-called subconscious, they'll either come to the fore when the time is right, if we're honest in asking Holy Spirit to do that for us, or they'll just sit and simmer until we get to the point where we can actually accept it and deal with it. But I think it's the rapidity with which we take those grievances as soon as we recognize them. Don't just throw them away or put them to the side, or just deal with them right then and there, because then I just had that happen recently. I didn't even realize I had a grievance, and all of a sudden I realized. I said, "Oh my goodness!" And then right away, and it has absolutely lifted that feeling. Yeah. So anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ardith. That was good. Okay. Does anyone else have anything about paragraph 3 they want to add? Okay, let's go on to paragraph 4. Who'd like to read paragraph 4? Anyone want to read?
Just
Okay.
assign, Sharon, assign it to someone.
Okay. Megan, you come to mind right quick. Would you like to read, Megan?
Sure.
Okay.
Would you not be willing to relinquish your grievances if you believed all this were so? Perhaps you do not think you can let your grievances go. That, however, is simply a matter of motivation. Today we'll try to find out how you would feel without them. If you succeed even by ever so little, there will never be a problem in motivation ever again.
Well, all I got to say is that must be a big job, because to do it right means we would never have a problem with motivation again. That's wonderful. What do you guys think? Bring up anything? Maggie.
Well, I was noticing all of the examples that people were giving as they were just describing their experiences in response to paragraph 3. I think there's a number of people, Maria, Dylan, someone else as well. And all of the examples were described as resulting in a sense of peace, right? So like, again, very much what we're being told will happen. I just liked that. And I think that is what is being referenced here in terms of the matter of motivation. It's like once we get to have that experience, and we might have to have it over and over in order for the mind to really kind of be trained and recognize that that is connected. But if you start to have the experience that this does actually make me feel better, it's not as hard to be motivated to do it. And so I think that that's something I've been able to see in my own experience, definitely, and through my practice, is that I think that I had less motivation in the past. There was more reluctance. There was more holding of grievances. Like Art had said, it's not that we don't, figure out a way to not have them. It's just that we don't hold them. And I think in the past, I might have been more reluctant to let go of them because I wasn't sure that this actually makes me feel better. Like Peter was saying himself, the ego has taught me that these things are what make me feel better, the grievances themselves. So I think the matter of motivation gets resolved as you're willing to just try. And that's why we need the little willingness, because then you start to see that, oh, yes, this is my happiness. This is my my function does make me happy and bring peace into my awareness. And so I don't need to be doing this for anybody else, but that is pretty motivating all by itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I think good news, folks, if you don't feel you've experienced that, yeah, I could say I do see that and feel that in my own experience.
Great. Thank you, Maggie. Megan.
Well, I've personally been going through just I've been having a hard time. And so when I don't feel well, it's very hard to get into the state of like if you're not feeling well, then not feeling well causes you to blame or justify or, bad feelings and stuff. And so I was telling my sister that I'm doing this like every 15 minutes. So every hour is like a reloop. So the first 15 minutes, I don't feel well. The second 15 minutes of that hour, I'm going, oh my goodness, this is the fault. That's the reason. That's at fault. I'm not doing things right. And then the third 15 minutes is me going, oh my goodness, I have forgotten to ask God for help. I am definitely joined with God. And then the last 15 minutes is peace. And then the next hour all starts all over again. And so I think it's the next paragraph, but I did want to say that it talks about cherishing some of the, that we cherish the grievances. And I thought that for this paragraph, the motivation was that I wouldn't go through all this each hour if I didn't realize that the end result is I feel like I can breathe better. I'm calmer, and I don't want to live in a world where I'm actively angry or upset for any reason, because I physically don't feel well, or because I'm not paying attention, or I'm distracted, or I'm just busy, or I'm frustrated in some way. I don't want to make that my world. And so I think motivation has been that I feel more peaceful and more easily inclined to go towards a space that I've felt comfort and joy and happiness, knowing that I'm part of God, than I ever have in justifying all these things that I blame. Thank you.
You're welcome. I think that's something for all of us to look at. It is how long it takes us. And didn't Bill Thetford say his answer to someone is, how do you know if you're spiritually progressing? And he says, how the distance or the time it takes you to forgive, I think is what he said. That's how you know. If something happens and you forgive it right away, you're doing really good.
I've seen a grievance go, yeah.
Yeah. Elysian, and you're muted. There you go. Great.
So for me, the forgiveness of grievances is basically just returning into coherency, congruency, alignment with that which I am, that bigger part of me that doesn't even have an experience of grievances, doesn't even know what grievance is, since a grievance is fundamentally buying into something that isn't there, like foundationally, as the divine father has no grievances. So it's for me as the student of the divine will, divine father, is to just catch those programs and just basically return into the kingdom of heaven, and all else is added on to me. The forgiveness is taken care of me, as the separate doer can only pretend that the forgiveness happens through it. So it just happens through the Holy Spirit itself. So for me, it's like that.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Forgiveness. It's everything. And learning how to do it is the biggest job, I guess. Thank you, though, Jerry.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for your shares. I was thinking that, Jesus had mentioned in the text that our capacity for pain, our tolerance for pain is quite high, very high, but it does have a limit. And when that limit in tolerance for pain is exceeded, we then let down our defenses and we say there must be another way. And at that moment, we're letting go of the insanity of the ego, which says if you feel grievances, you're going to feel better. If you project onto the other person the cause of your upset, you'll feel better. That's an insane thought system. And it does cause such pain. So I get to the point where my tolerance is exceeded, and I say, I don't believe that anymore. Because if the ego were right, I'd feel better once I'm, projecting this guilt and grievance. There must be another way. And then the Holy Spirit is invited in. And that's the whole story, of course, of Bill and Helen. They said, let's take a chance because this is intolerant. Let's try something else. There's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
And the ego system is very consistent, but it's consistently insane. And the Holy Spirit system is also internally consistent, but it's quite sane and will motivate me through peace and serenity to keep coming back to the Holy Spirit. It'll be known through his works, and I will go back to it. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Jerry. That was great. Rich, you're up.
All right, so paragraph 4 is the focus, but I'm reading the whole thing. Grievances. So what comes to mind for me, if I was to work the lesson, would be, like, I'll be 60 years old this month, but what comes to mind to me is, as a teenager on the school bus, the little girls rejected me, right? At 15, 14, whatever age it, like I felt like, the girls were rejecting me. And so if I apply that, to what this lesson is about, because I mean, that's what comes to mind first. So maybe that's more major to me than anything else. But a grievance is a real or imagined wrong or other cause for complaint or protest, especially unfair treatment. So an imagined wrong. So, I mean, in ACIM principles, there was no real wrong there. In ACIM principles, it's all about, understanding that. Here's a couple sentences in the book. It is impossible to seek for pleasure through the body and not find pain in terms of relationships. It is impossible to seek for pleasure through the body and not find pain. And there's another great statement in the book, I'm sure everyone knows. When the body ceases to attract you and when you place no value on it as a means of getting anything, then there will be no interference in communication. Your thoughts will be as free as God's. So it's truly losing this body mentality. And I'll tie that into 1:3. To hold a grievance is to see yourself as a body. So, I mean, but there is another sentence in the book about the body should be a useful, healthy instrument. I mean, so it is an overall understanding, but still, anything that's incorrect in terms of ego about the body, ideas I just stated, that's what has to be let go of if I want these blocks to real love's awareness to be full and complete, if I want a real sense of joy and peace and strength and gentleness.
Thank you. Thank you. Susan.
Hi, everybody. I was deeply moved and impacted by what Elysian said. I got to move my screen so I can see you. Where are you? Are you still there? Anyway, what came to mind was, there you are. Hi, Elysian. What you said was so powerful. And I wanted to circle back because we sort of moved on, and I feel it was a real revelation for me when I started realizing what you were talking about, you know, in my own life and my own practice, that it is not the little self, the little fragment that we think we are of the whole that does these things, that forgives or blesses. It is the one mind, when we are in the state of one mind, that we are of Christ's mind, where then forgiveness and blessings flow through us, but they're not driven by it. We're not driving that bus, right? It just flows through us. It's like the love that pours out and emanates out. That's why we need do nothing. It is
since forgiveness is already taken care of, it's this holy site, you know. So the grievance is sort of an innocent misunderstanding from which you learn how to return to this forgiveness that's ever here. It cannot be threatened or lost, you know.
precisely because it is the error of slipping into the familiar mindset of ego-driven thought that makes us think we need to be changing ourselves, when actually our true self is whole, beautiful, complete, and it's the glory, you know. And it's only the error-ridden part that demonstrates being out of alignment with love. And when we're in alignment with love, mind, one mind, unity, all, then there is no act that needs to be taken. If we could look at it more like we are vehicles that is emitted through. That is nothing we do or say, or it is just who we are as one being. And I don't mean to change any of your intention and what you were saying, Elysian, but that's what I wanted to add from how I experience what I heard you talking about. And I got really excited to hear somebody talking like that. So thank you.
Thank you for strengthening this.
This is great. This is wonderful. Okay, Dylan, you're up.
The gentleman was speaking about forgiveness. That's what got me to raise my hand. Parroting Dr. Wapnick once again. I'm sure a couple of y'all heard of him. He talks about how the metaphysics of the course is so foundational to forgiveness, to the miracle, and the fact that the outward picture is the outward perception is a picture of an inward condition, actually an inward wish. And I kind of piece it together. It's a outward picture of an inner wish edition. It's something that we ultimately want because we want to see the guilt on the other fragments of the sonship. And even our body is also a fragment of the sonship. It's outside of our mind. And for me, when it's time to forgive something, when I perceive a grievance, I always tell myself, bring it back in. Well, I'm starting to, bring it back in. It's an inner wish edition. It's something I've chosen to perceive, and even my body, and it's, anxious or depressed or, not doing what I want it to do fully, then, it's part of the sonship. Forgive it, bring it back in. So that's all.
Yep, I agree. Susan, did you have more to say, or did you just not take your hand down?
I didn't take my hand down, but thank you for reminding me.
Sure. Megan?
Yeah, I'm kind of lost where we are because I think we talked so much. Now I've lost where we are on what we were reading. But I did want to say I was watching something where there was a man whose wife had gotten catfished, and their daughter was really upset about it, and she stopped talking to her mother, and the father went and talked to their daughter and said, like, I understand that you're upset, but your mom no longer feels welcome. And if I get upset too, I'm going to be pushing her out of the family and making her feel unwelcome. So the only thing I can do is say, I'm so sorry, what happened to you, let us help you, because I want you to feel welcome and come back to us and to God. And the daughter was too angry, but I was like, oh, that's so wonderful just to watch it happen, because this was, candid, not, scripted or anything. It was just happening. I was like, so moved by somebody who could see clearly and was stating clearly to the daughter, I understand how you feel, but this does not help us, our family, your mother, our relationship. Thank you.
Yeah, it's hard to know sometimes the best thing to say. Elysian?
Sharon, Bill's
Yes.
hand is raised. I
Oh,
think he.
Bill? Oh, Bill, you know what? Your hand is, everyone else's hand is like bright yellow, and yours is dark. I don't know why, but I can't.
I use dark skin tone because that's my skin tone.
What?
I look white, but I'm pure black.
No.
And I'm in a white skin tone.
Zoom does give us the
My
ability
skin
to
is
choose the color of the hand, Sharon. So
Oh.
it's diversity, which is wonderful. But I do notice that Bill, I've seen this happen in other Zoom settings too. It's hard to see it on the black roster of participants that I think Sharon is looking at. But I got you. I see you.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so you might want to change the color of your raised hand, but what did you want to say?
What I did want to say is back to Elysian when he was speaking there. I really feel a connection with where he is coming from in the journey right now. I think he was mentioning that he would search his own being and does not find grievances because we're so willing to let go of a grievance that we would find go away. So, right, Elysian, we can't find grievances. I think that's what you were saying.
Well, he's got his hand raised, so maybe we'll hear from him.
Actually, I just wanted to extend further into the subject of forgiveness and just get back to the very first lessons that the Course in Miracles teaches us, like that we give all the meaning to all that we see, that I don't know like what this is, but I can assume that it is holy, so for me personally, this is like the most difficult part that actually does require some effort in forgiveness, just letting go everything I assumed about the world, everything I assumed about the friends, just to hold that infinite space of allowance for the very best version of forgiveness in others, that God doesn't hold any grievances, for anyone, for anything that happened in the world, and just so for me personally, I've just been practicing this, being this channel of just basically I don't know what anything of this is, that God is taking his very first heartbeat and breath each and every new moment, and that I expect miracles to happen on every turn. So this is like I guess the highest mastery form of A Course in Miracles that does like raise all kinds of ego's beliefs, since it feels threatened on every turn, since it's like, well, I guess you understand. So for me, practicing these very first lessons already eradicates everything that would come like after that, any grievances or any lack of sight, since you are
excellent, Elysian. That's what I'm talking about. You're on that level.
You already are this leading edge of consciousness of God, since you return to that which you be. So this Holy Spirit is expressing through you right now, each and every moment.
Right. So now on the next, we're still in a body. That's the fact. So we have a grievance. I want to work with you and whoever else to figure out what grievance We have, because I don't know it, but we must have one, because it tells us here in the course and in this lesson particularly, that if we're in a body, that is a grievance.
The only way we can find out what our grievance is to turn it over to the Holy Spirit and ask it to bring it up so we can forgive them, I think.
Yeah.
Actually, there fundamentally there is no body. You can have an idea that you have a body, that this time space contains a body, but the body is also extended, like, you know, this card. You could identify it as a body, since a body is just basically a thought, and a thought is dead. But the essence that creates this illusion of having a thought, having an idea, is the real reality of you. So yeah, foundationally there is no body. You are the access point through which this consciousness of God is expressing into, like, outwards throughout all directions.
Yeah. But I still think I have a body. I can tell because I get on the scales every morning. But thank you for that, Elysian. Johanna?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Elysian and Bill and Susan. The Course actually says that miracles are a wholly natural thing. They're supposed to happen all the time, and when they don't happen all the time, something's gone wrong. And so most of us find ourselves in the state where things go wrong. And so when you are in a body and when things go wrong, you can't just jump to a state where everything is right and miracles happen all the time. And so the Course is given us to gradually go from a situation where things aren't going right to finally end up on the doorstep of heaven. And you described that very well, Elysian, in you know what that feels like and what that looks like. And if you can be in that spot inwardly, then you know, so much the better for you. The thing is that most of us can't, and so we have these blocks, and the Course helps us to ask the Holy Spirit to have those blocks be undone for us. And all it takes is, the Course says, is willingness, the willingness to look at it and have it be undone. But there's work to do. There's a lot of work to do. And of course, the images of the doorstep of heaven, they stimulate and they motivate. So that's really good. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know who that was that just spoke, but Megan is next. And actually, we have 2 more minutes and then we need to wrap it up. But Megan, go right ahead.
I wanted to speak to what seems to be an underlying issue here, which is that the idea that because we have a body, we're here, and or because we know we have a body, we're here. And I want to say to everybody that you can also be here and not know you have a body, because I have been through times when I've been doing my artwork and I am pure joy, I am pure energy, I'm pure motivation. And the idea that I am a body and I have a body, to simply leave my consciousness at that time. And so the idea that the world will disappear, or the body will disappear, and then God and you will be in heaven, you know, is not as accurate or as concrete as we think. We simply don't know. That's the big shrug emoji of all things, which is that because we have a body does not mean that we necessarily are not also able to be in this body and then also be out of our body and experiencing God 100% and not in anger and not in judgment and not doing anything. It just means that when we come back and we realize we're in a body, that's when we have lost the intimate connection. And that's what we're striving for, is to have that personal connection, that feeling of not necessarily being a body and in a body all the time. And I think it gets us closer there, but it doesn't necessarily compromise anything that's being said in the Course.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Elysian, did you have something you wanted to add, or did you just not?
I would just suggest some freeing perception correction. You know, the only body you have is the Holy Son of God. That is all that you see. That is already the redemption of God. So any assumption of insecurities relating to this as if separate body from God is redeemed by your returning to remembrance of who you be, you know, since there is only one Holy Son of God that is one with the Father, it cannot be threatened, and we're just translating this ignorance into returning to that which we are, into that peace of God that cannot be threatened.
Right. There's only one of us. I love that thought. There's only one of us. So that brings, oh, we're a minute past the top of the hour. Well, I think we got through all of the paragraphs, and next time we'll start with paragraph 5. Is that it? Okay. And so just to send us on our way, let me just open this sweet little book and read something to you. If you could all relax here. I need but look upon all things that seem to hurt me, and with perfect certainty assure myself, God wills that I be saved from this, and merely watch them disappear. I need but keep in mind my Father's will for me is only happiness, to find that only happiness has come to me. And I need but remember that God's love surrounds his Son and keeps his sinlessness forever perfect, to be sure that I am saved and safe forever in his arms. I am the Son he loves, and I am saved because God in his mercy wills it so. That's from Workbook 235. Thank you all for being with us here today. This was wonderful. It's just wonderful.